Hello bikers, welcome to another video. Today I'm going to be fitting a nice new shiny part to the GS Sexy R, so I'll show you that process and I'll show you what the part is in a second. Let me just give you a couple of heads up as well before I do. So coming up soon on the channel, I'm going to do a video on cleaning the brake calipers. So a few days ago I uploaded a video of cleaning the bobbins on the brake disc. And off the back of that video, somebody got in touch with me, and one of my subscribers who I've been chatting to on WhatsApp for a while, he asked me to do a video on cleaning the calipers. So I'll do that hopefully this weekend if I get to it. I've got a pretty busy weekend coming up, but I will try and get to it this weekend. If not, it'll be shortly after. I'm also very soon going to be doing a video on fitting some new throttle cables for two reasons. First reason, the adjuster barrel on this throttle cable is all the way to the end, so there's not much adjustment left, and I just want everything spick and span before the new season. And the second reason is, some of you might know, I don't know if you can quite see it, but I fitted a nice sexy blue clutch cable to the Gixxer, and the same company, AS3 Performance, also supply nice sexy blue throttle cables, so that's going to add at least 15 horsepower, right? So that's coming up on the channel. And also a little bit of news. Let me just piss about with the camera and show you that I recently bought a mechanics store. Really bad camera movement. So this mechanics store on Amazon for about 35 quid. Really well built, solid wheels on the bottom, tool tray there, height adjustable seat. It's fantastic. Yeah, I love it to bits. So really easy, much easier to use working on the bike. I did have an old camping chair in here which I used to use to sit on, but I couldn't use that to work on the bike. But this you can, right? So happy days. Anyway, let's get into the video. And we're back in the room. So I'm going to be fitting this absolutely gorgeous, beautiful, sexy, stunning diamond racing fuel cap. I love the way that's been machined. I don't know if you can quite see the detail, the gnarling in the metal there. It's absolutely gorgeous, isn't it? And it's the same company that build the rear sets that I've got on the bike as well. Now, who wants to waste minutes using your key to fill up at the petrol station, right? That's just a waste of time. So why not get a quick release racing fuel cap? Wanted one of these for a while actually, and I was toying with the idea, like, is it worth it? But sod it, why not? I think this was 87 quid, 88 quid, so it might sound quite expensive, but hey, I absolutely bloody love it. So let's get to fitting it, and I'll also tell you about the little heart attack that I almost had with the old fuel cap. So let's get you a better camera angle so you can see what I'm talking about and you can see what I'm doing. Right, so couple of things. So this is the first time I've done this on a Gixxer, right? I think I did this on a bike years ago, didn't I, on my Kawasaki, but the first time I've done it on a Gixxer. What I didn't realize was that the only functional bolts are this one at the top and then these two at the bottom. So 3 bolts that are functional. These 2 are cosmetic. And if I show you the new cap, I don't know if you might have noticed, but there is only 3 bolt holes. So those 3 are functional, the other 2 are just cosmetic. But what I did before I ordered that part, I thought I'd better check to make sure these bolts come off without a fight, because the last thing you want to do, because obviously the previous owner has used these anodized bolts. Now sometimes you can get really cheap anodized bolts. I know I've got one missing there, but I'll talk about that one in a second. And I thought, do you know what, they're anodized, so they're probably not, the bolts are probably not going to rust, but you still might get a bit of rust inside the thread of the bolt, right? Especially if water gets through there. So, and if they've used Loctite or anything like that, then yeah, you might just have a bit of a fight getting them off, and the last thing you want to do is snap one of these. So the other day I thought I'll just make sure they come off. So I started to undo them and took this one out. Standard, yeah, no dramas. Notice the length of that. I took this one out, I can even get it out now. There we go. And I'm not using a big heavy ratchet or anything, because I just want a bit of, when I first did this, I thought I just want a bit of feel, right? A bit of dexterity to see if it feels like it was going to snap. This one is a lot shorter. So when I took that out, considering when I first took these out, there was that initial crack. Like, I imagine the previous owner had used a bit of thread lock. I'm not going to do that. But there was that initial crack. So the first one came out. I thought, yeah, no problem. Second one came out. I looked down into the recess of the bolt after noticing that was like half the length and thought, shit, this has snapped. So I carried on, did the others, and noticed that I've already loosened these off, by the way. That's why they're really loose. That was the same length as the first one, because I didn't know that only 3 of them were functional until I actually got them off. And then this one, same length as the first one and same length as that one. So one was shorter and I thought, I've bloody snapped it. The other one, however, this one here, which I don't know if you can see past the key, look how small that one is. Absolutely tiny. And when you look down, it looks like there's a half the bolt left inside the thread. You know, if you look at that compared to that. And yeah, so that I had a little bit of a heart attack. But luckily, when I then removed the fuel cap, and if you're doing this, by the way, just bear in mind, don't hover over here with any tools or nuts or bolts while your fuel tank here is exposed, because the last thing you want is to drop anything in there. But I noticed, I don't know if you can tell, but this this little nub here is part of the fuel tank, not part of the bolt. It says on closer inspection. Yeah, it's part of the fuel tank. And on this side there's a breather hole. So yeah, I had a bit of a heart attack, but luckily I was absolutely fine. So that's how easy it is to get the fuel cap off. The next one, just make sure that any seals are in good order before you fit them, and then very simply seat it down, get the holes lined up ready to receive the bolts. Now I was in 2 minds now whether or not to use whether to use these blue anodized bolts that came off, or whether to use the bolts that came with the fuel cap. Now they're going to be the same. They're going to be the same pitch. They're just a slightly different length, and the cap head part is slightly bigger, but it's still the same. It's still a 4mm Allen key. So let's try these and just make sure that they do bite down, and make sure that they do secure the cap. Actually, do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to use, and some of you might disagree with this, I'm going to use a tiny little bit of copper grease in there, just a tiny little bit, because I think there is a little bit of rust inside the threads, which I've cleaned out now before making this video with a little bit of GT85 on a rag. So literally just a tiny amount of copper grease, which will work its way around that thread as they thread in there. Same with the other 2, tiny little bit of copper grease, not a lot, because of course the bolts themselves are anodized, so they're not going to rust. The problem with anodized bolts sometimes is sometimes they can be quite cheaply made, and they can be quite fragile compared to, say, the bolts that came with the cap. And a top tip when you're doing this, remember that's got a seal underneath there, so it needs to sit flat. So you want to just do a little bit each time on each of these bolts so that it starts to seat down evenly. That might be a bit of an overkill, you might say, but I'd rather just take my time and do it properly. So get each one of them to bite a little bit, And the other thing is as well is not to over tighten these, because the bolts are so small. Probably looking at about 8 Newton meters, 10 Newton meters maximum. They don't need to be over tight at all. So literally just hand tight, and then a slight nip after that. And I think you'll agree that that looks absolutely fantastic. And I think that'll do. That's nice and secure. That's not moving around anywhere. And now when I'm at the petrol station, ain't no pissing around with a key. Unlock, fill up, drive away with without leaving that behind. Lovely jubbly. And there you go. Okay, so nice easy job. Remember, every bike might be slightly different. As I say, on my bike only 3 bolts were functional. The clue will be when you look for a product like this, a fuel cap for your specific bike, an aftermarket one, have a look at the picture. Pictures sometimes aren't specific to the part you'll get, but it might show 3 bolt holes, whereas on your bike there might be 5. But that's a good indicator that maybe 2 of the bolts are just cosmetic. Or maybe have a look at your fuel cap, take them all out and just have a look, just for peace of mind before you buy. But yeah, is it worth it? Is it worth 80 odd quid? Maybe, maybe not. I think it is, because it is gorgeous, sexy, stunning and beautiful all in one. So yeah, it will make me faster. I'm a local TT. But it will also add, just as the throttle cables will, maybe a few more horsepower, who knows. So thanks for watching, folks. Nice easy job. Another couple of videos coming up soon, as I mentioned, the throttle cables when I get round to it, and cleaning the calipers as well. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button if you haven't already done so. If you want to see any particular videos, then just let me know. As long as it's possible and reasonable, then I'll try and facilitate that. But yeah, thanks for watching. In the meantime, stay safe and have fun.